That was my last statement to the RCMP in Grand Bank, because from then on I spent as little time in that town as I possibly could. My dad got me a job on the boats and I spent a lot of time away from there. And then after being married to the same lady for 30 years and a son that's 20 years old now, when he was 12 years old, he was master of ceremonies at his school for Remembrance Day ceremonies. Him and two other students at 12 did up the ceremonies and the protocol for the day at the gymnasium, and my son was the speaker. I sat in that auditorium while one of the statements he made with members of the Legion and dignitaries from all over the town and his fellow classmates at 12 years old in an elementary school. One of the statements was that sometimes to have freedom and democracy, it's sad, but soldiers and people have to die. And that statement from my 12-year-old son just crushed me. I knew, again, I had to go to the RCMP and try and do something again, because this little guy deserved it, and so did I. And I said to him after that, Trevor, I live in this democracy, and I've lost my life, and I've done nothing but tell the truth. And I'm sorry, but I had to keep doing it. And he said, that's okay, Dad. I don't mind. You do what you have to do. He was 12 years old that night when I talked to him and his mom, and now he's 20. And it's Father's Day in 2007, and I'm still sitting here trying to accomplish something and get this to stop for me and my family and make sure it happens to no one else. I don't know where else I can turn. I've been to every media that I know of. I've been to government members in Newfoundland from every party and Ottawa from every party. Everyone pays lip service to it. But at the same time, the criminals who did this to my family become members of the Order of Canada, become honorary members of Memorial University, become members of the Order of Newfoundland, become Chief Justices of the Supreme Court, and are honored in every way. Meanwhile, the victims, myself, my family, never gotten justice, can't even get a day in court where we can get proper representation. On this island, I can't get a lawyer to represent me. I can't get proper medical care. And my wife and I can't get a job. And now I'm physically, emotionally spent. So I just keep fighting every day and hoping that I can change something for someone and get some justice.
Hey, tell me about the 1998 stuff and how Danny Williams, kind of was involved and then just dropped the whole thing.
After I went to the RCMP in 1998, I made my report again to the RCMP about things that had happened in the past and what had happened, a complete police report, including what my uncle Charles Snook did to me after I made the report about his friend, the Justice Minister, to the RCMP. That was in 1998, March. Later on that year, in May, I called my uncle and spoke with him, Charles Snook, and said, Uncle Charles, I've been back to the RCMP. I'm still trying to get justice for what happened to me and my family. And they are again investigating this case, and are going to do something about it now, finally. I hung up the phone and I went to work. I was at that time a security guard with a local security firm, worked out in the country at a poultry farm that was being built 10 miles outside the city. At 11 o'clock that night, the Newfoundland constabulary came by my job where I was doing security in the woods and arrested me for calling my uncle and threatening to take him out in a boat and drown him. So basically it was making death threats against my uncle. I'd explained to the constabulary officer, Mr. Sullivan, Constable Sullivan, that this particular threat he was saying that I made against him on the phone was bogus completely. I didn't say anything such as that to him. And that was exactly what he had done to me when I was 13 years old in Grand Bank and took me out in his boat. And that was already recorded months previously in my RCMP statement that I'd given the RCMP, Constable Pete Cornick and Constable Mark London at the RCMP in St. John's. These charges were laid against me. So in '98, I had to go and get a lawyer. My lawyer at that time was Williams, Robotham, Mackay, and Marshall. In 1998, that was the law firm of Premier Danny Williams. The lawyer I had personally, his name was Rolf Pritchard. He was just a young junior lawyer at the firm. I gave him my complete file, the same file I've given to everyone else, in 1998. I said to Rolf, "You're just a young guy here at the legal firm. I want you to make sure that this is dealt with properly, so will you be discussing this with other members?" He said, "Byron, a case like this, I take it and work it, but we discuss all these kinds of cases with all the senior members of our firm." And I said, "Mr. Williams?" He said, "Yes, including Mr. Williams." Not only did they discuss it then, but I delivered this package to Mr. Williams' office and had them sign for it after he became opposition leader and premier eventually. So Mr. Williams has had access and been informed about my situation since 1998. This lawyer, Rolf Pritchard, represented me in the case where my uncle charged me in provincial court with threatening his life. The judge was a Judge Hislop, heard the case. The RCMP officer who took my statement, the lead investigator was John Warr, witnessed on my behalf. The Judge Hislop asked Mr. Warr, he said, "Constable, are these charges Mr. Pryor is making serious?" And Constable Warr said, "Yes, Your Honor, serious. They are serious." At the same court case, the Constable Sullivan that came to arrest me with the charges explained to the judge that when he went after Mr. Snook, Charles Snook, my uncle, called to make the report to investigate with Charlie Snook, said Mr. Snook was very fidgety and hedgy, and he said he seemed more worried to me than telling the truth about what had actually happened. So he, in turn, was a witness in my favor. Judge Hislop said there was no basis for the case and threw it out of court. Meanwhile, to pay the lawyer's bill at Danny Williams' office and to go to a sister's wedding in Ontario and pay other bills that have accumulated since this, I had to remortgage my house. The lawyer at Danny Williams' office, at that time, Brian Tobin was the premier, and the lawyer Rolf Pritchard at Danny Williams' office 2 weeks later left the law firm of Williams, Robotham, Mackay, and Marshall, started working for the Tobin government in the litigations department at the Confederation building, where he still works today. Mr. Williams, in turn, the last time I seen Mr. Williams was in January of 2007, the day I was arrested.